Good evening everyone. For Telesur English, I'm Sarah Begum in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin in Europe, where Greece has failed to reach agreement with the Eurogroup on its plans for ending austerity and restructuring its debt. The new Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis was in Brussels to propose a bridging agreement that would replace the bailout package imposed by the EU and the IMF. But the meeting ended without any joint statement being issued. Earlier, some of Greece's creditors seemed to be striking a more conciliatory note.
These people are highly competent, very intelligent, and they've thought their plan through. So now we have to listen to them. We have to start working together, and that process has only just begun and will take some time.
Thousands of people have taken to the streets across Greece to express support for the Syriza government and its firm stance against austerity and debt. Some held placards saying, "We are not Merkel's colony." The Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras tweeted that in the cities of Greece and Europe, the people are fighting the negotiation battle. They are our strength.
The crucial point now is solidarity. We need solidarity. That's the whole point. And the election sent a message, I believe, sent a crucial message to all European people that now we have to be united and we need solidarity.
And in another major meeting for Europe, the leaders of Russia, Germany, France and Ukraine have begun talks in Belarus to seek an end to the conflict in eastern Ukraine. The summit comes after German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President François Hollande presented a new peace initiative last week. The leaders have been discussing a final document that was expected to restate key points of last year's Minsk peace accord, including a ceasefire starting tomorrow and the withdrawal of heavy weapons from eastern Ukraine. The government of Venezuela has established a popular and military civic command against the economic war in the state of Barinas, in the country's center-west. Venezuelan Vice President Jorge Araiza led the activity in which the civic and military commandos were sworn in. Their job will be to look after the people's well-being and defeat the economic war waged by the Venezuelan right.
They're saying that we are persecuting private enterprise. Now private enterprise is persecuting the people, making them stand in line. They speculate, they hoard these companies, they break the laws. We have to take the measures that we have to take.
The marijuana regulation law in Uruguay is entering its last stage of implementation after preparing a register of consumers, producers and cannabis clubs. All that remains is to implement the system of distribution, which will be handled by drugstores.
The Regulatory Medical Marijuana Act is now ready. It is functioning through the registration of self-growers and is working perfectly. The registration of cannabis clubs is also running perfectly. That is, more than 4/5 of the law are implemented. Hearing today people say they have not implemented the law. No, the law is 85 to 90% implemented. There is only the last stage to go.
And staying in Uruguay, the Secretary General of UNISOR, Ernesto Samper, has signed an agreement with the Latin American Development Bank to create the first fiber optic link to cover the whole region. The aim is to promote continental integration. During his visit, Samper also agreed to set up a network of drug observatories in UNISOR member countries. And moving to Mexico, teachers have ended their strike after staging a huge sit-in. We go to Clayton Kahn for this report.
After 2 days of mass protests, sit-ins and blockades, as well as hours of negotiations with federal and Oaxacan state authorities in the Mexican capital, thousands of teachers from Section 22 of the National Teachers Union will lift their protests and return to the state of Oaxaca. Their General Secretary Ruben Núñez announced that the teachers had negotiated a deal with authorities to be paid delayed salaries to some 6,000 members, as well as the official recognition of other education workers who were in an irregular status. On Monday, thousands of the Oaxacan state teachers descended upon the Mexican capital, installing a mass 8-block sit-in on the city's historic Reforma Avenue, essentially paralyzing the city center. They were moved on Tuesday to the plaza surrounding the Revolution Plaza after Mexico City riot police threatened to forcibly evict them. Although negotiations represent a minor victory for the teachers, they say they will continue their fight against Mexico's education reform, approved nearly 2 years ago, that they say is a form to privatize the education system as well as threatens their labor rights. This is Clayton Cohn reporting for Telesur here in Mexico City.
Argentina's cabinet chief Jorge Capitanich has criticized the reported links between the murdered prosecutor Alberto Nisman and the US Embassy, as revealed by WikiLeaks.
It is a question of the concerns of the Argentine Cancilleria and also the President. We ratify our conditions as a sovereign country, and as members of the United Nations we should be respected as in the UN Charter. Therefore, any interference violated the self-determinations of the people.
Debemos ser extremadamente respetuosos de la Carta de las Naciones Unidas.
Staying in Argentina, a plenary commission of the Argentine Senate has delivered its opinion on the draft bill submitted by the executive, which aims to reform the intelligence system. The debate in the upper chamber commences this Thursday. Leo Poblete with more.
Amendments to the original bill prepared by the executive branch have been introduced following the expositions given to the plenary commissions of the Senate by the Center for Legal and Social Studies of Argentina and security expert Marcelo Sain.
This issue, to subordinate all intelligence agencies that Argentina has, in this case, defense intelligence, we're talking about the military, about criminal intelligence, which relies on the security ministry. All these will now go on to report directly to the new federal intelligence agency. This isn't just any fact, as it takes away freedom of action from military intelligence, as it is commonly known.
Another modification made to the draft text has to do with having full parliamentary control over the election of directors of the Federal Intelligence Agency.
The fact that parliamentary chambers will now be actively involved in monitoring intelligence agencies is also an important change. It is in the bill, and it was also stated in the old law. But the truth is that I think in this case, the important thing here is there is commitment from the political forces to actually participate in the
The Centre of Legal and Social Studies greatly values the amendments made, but argues that the bill, as it currently stands, does not solve the underlying issues.
We must try by all means to limit as much as possible that the future Federal Intelligence Agency have operational functions and act as an auxiliary of the judiciary. That in the bill, as it currently stands, remains unresolved. It remains with the possibility of having operational capabilities, and that is the window which creates an imbalance in the role of intelligence services in criminal investigations.
The Centre has expressed optimism that the bill will receive further modifications throughout the legislative process that lies ahead, assessing the openness of the government, while regretting that the opposition does not assume its obligations by not participating in the debate. From Buenos Aires, Leo Político, Telesur.
In Brazil, at least 3 workers were killed, 10 were wounded, and 6 are missing after an explosion on an offshore oil and natural gas rig. The platform belonging to the state-controlled company Petrobras had 74 workers on board at the time of the explosion. According to Sinterpetro, the oil workers' union, the disaster was caused by a gas leak. The facility is located 75 kilometers off Brazil's southeastern coast and produces over 2 million cubic meters of gas daily. While many Latin American nations are moving towards greater unity and independence from the United States, Peru seems to be heading the other way. Our correspondent in Lima, Ryan Mora, reports.
With one resolution, the Peruvian Congress has approved the entrance of 18 U.S. military groups, totaling 3,677 personnel from that country for 2015. There are diverse opinions in Congress regarding this matter, with some concern over U.S. meddling in Peruvian and Latin American affairs.
We are not giving them any priority. It was proposed as a necessity to bring these forces to work together, and it was accepted. If Bolivia or Venezuela propose the same, we will talk about it, and if it's beneficial, we will accept them too.
Their physical presence does not say anything. It doesn't mean that it is intermission or invasion of the United States here.
If there's a possibility of cooperation with large or small countries, then we are pleased. But large ones sometimes come here to investigate what do we have and make a sort of espionage.
Such resolution further shows the backflip by the government on their election promises to move toward regional integration and away from neoliberal policies. According to the document, the first contingent of U.S. forces arrived only 3 days after the resolution was voted on, and a second set of military units will be arriving this Sunday, February 15th. Reporting from Lima, Peru for Telesur, Rael Mora.
And in the United States, President Barack Obama is seeking congressional approval for the military campaign against the Islamic State group in Syria and Iraq. Alexandra Hall is in Washington.
President Obama formally requested authorization from Congress to use military force against the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq on Wednesday. Speaking from the White House, President Obama outlined what this proposal says and what it does not say. One of those points being that it does not authorize the deployment of U.S. ground troops in Iraq and Syria like in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. He also said that the authorization is limited to 3 years. But it's important to note that while the proposal authorizes military force against ISIL, as it's defined in that report, it also authorizes force against any associated persons or forces, and also that this 3-year cap would extend past the 2016 presidential elections, meaning that the next president, be they from the Republican, Democratic, or any other party, would be able to reauthorize it if they so wished at that time. Reporting in Washington, I'm Alexandra Hall for Telesur.
The president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, has met the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker in Brussels to talk about the current situation in Palestine, as well as the state of Palestine's relations with the European Union. Abbas is also scheduled to hold talks with the European Parliament. President Martin Schulz, a spokesperson for the EU, said it was an opportunity to restate Europe's two-state solution with an independent, democratic, viable Palestinian state living side by side with Israel. Staying in Palestine, the situation remains dire for many of the residents there. Noor Harazin has this report.
The Beach refugee camp is the largest refugee camp in the Gaza Strip and the third largest in all the Palestinian territories. Located in the north of the enclave on the edge of the Mediterranean, it is home to 80,000 registered refugees. Residents here live in houses with cracked walls and asbestos roofs. Some buildings are separated by alleys no more than a meter wide. We met Ra'ed Madi with 5 children to feed. He lives with his wife in a single room, surviving on the equivalent of $5 a day.
Here in the beach refugee camp, all the families are suffering. It is not about me or some other people here, but it is about most of the refugees who are living here. No jobs, lots of children, and the houses are in a very bad condition. And they get really affected during winter with the rain and storms.
Life for the family is especially tough because, like thousands of Palestinians, Madi is unemployed. His only income comes from the few candy bars he manages to sell each day. The beach camp, which was established in 1948 for Palestinian refugees from the cities of Jaffa, Majdal, Lod, and Beersheba, is not only home to displaced civilians. Even Ismail Haniyeh, the former Palestinian Prime Minister, lives here, wall to wall with other families. Noor Harazin, Telesu TV, Gaza.
More than 300 migrants are now believed to be missing after 2 boats sank off the Italian island of Lampedusa. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, 9 migrants from West Africa were rescued after 4 days in the Mediterranean Sea. Apparently, the vessels were carrying many more people than originally estimated. The UN body criticized Italy's response to the massive wave of migration. In a bold move, a London gallery has replaced one of the 270 paintings in its permanent collection with a work knocked up in a few weeks in a studio in southern China. The fake is on show at Dulwich Picture Gallery, among a world-class collection that also includes paintings by Van Dyck, Constable and Canaletto. The goal is to make people re-examine the artworks around them.
It is pretty obvious once you find it. What's fascinating is to see it in a museum context, where you are surrounded by beautiful pictures and one of them might not be just right. It doesn't devalue the original at all, on the contrary, it raises its status. It makes you realize how absolutely magical and what an aura that surrounds an original. What is fascinating, however, is how it is easy to replicate paintings in terms of if you want to have a copy of the original, all you need to do nowadays is order it on the internet.
More on these and other stories on our website, telesortv.net/English. For Telesor English, I'm Sarah Bagan. Good night.